shall not kill, that means that you shall not kill anybody, even if they're threatening your home and your family.
Yeah, the word unjust doesn't appear in the Bible. It doesn't appear in that commandment. It's thou shalt not kill. That's all there is.
Then why do you think there is so much killing has to do with all of the past Christian revolutions and wars that happen in the name of God, not only on Christianity, but on mostly Islam and Christianity, but those are the two most
Isn't that
warring
amazing?
factions.
And truly, if you were following the biblical precept of thou shalt not kill, you would think they would all be vegetarians, they would be pacifists, they would not be doing anything.
Well,
but you have certainly shown history is filled with killing of religious wars.
don't you think the Bible might have said, or it can be interpreted as, thou shalt not kill other Israelites or other Christians? And I think that there
Other
might be
tribes.
some interpretation like that, right, in other interpretations.
And that certainly seems to be the case in the Quran as well. It talks about thou shalt not kill. But if you're an infidel,
That's right.
all bets are off. Go for it. You know, the more you kill, the better off you're going to be in paradise with your 72 virgins.
So getting back to the atheist morals, an atheist has to decide on a situation-by-situation basis what is best. And I think that Richard Dawkins has produced a wonderful book, and a lot of it is on morals, but I should say several chapters are on morals. This is The God Delusion, one of the more popular books from Richard Dawkins. We'll get a close-up of that later. And he quotes Hauser, which is a particular test of morality. And he has several descriptions here of the train scenario. I call it just the train test, but I'm going to surmise it quite briefly here. Suppose that you were on top of a bridge and you saw a train coming from one side of the bridge. And on the other side of the bridge you saw 5 workers that was going to be killed if the train continued under the bridge to hit those 5 workers. Right. You had the chance to run down there and to switch the track over and just to another track where only 1 worker would be killed. How many people do you think that took this test would go down there and decide, yes, I will switch the track, avoid killing 5 people, but sacrifice 1?
I don't know.
Almost all.
All would say they would do that.
Almost all would say they would do this. I don't know why. He goes into more explanation of the minority.
Okay.
And he also goes into different cultures, even the Amazon forest tribes. And of course, he equates it to, if you're going to throw a spear and kill, 2 people instead of 1, he would equate it to the particular culture that was there. Now, the situation turns a little bit when you're on the bridge and you see the same train coming, but there's not 1 person on the track. Over there, there's 5 people on the track. And you have the chance of throwing a person over. You don't have time to run down there. There's a big fat man standing next to you, and he's looking over the bridge. And all you have to do is push him over. He'll fall down, flick the switch, and the train will go over there and kill no one except the man, of course. But the problem is you personally have to push him off.
Right.
How many people do you think on a percentage basis
Far
decide
less, I'd
to
say
push
maybe
the man?
20%?
Oh, much less than that.
10%?
I think in the book it was 2 or 3%.
Yeah.
And they would actually be able to push the man to save those. Now, this is where it becomes a decision where you have...
And yet, what's the difference morally between the 2 situations?
Well, that's the thing. Richard Dawkins, which I highly recommend buying the book, dives into this scenario and finds out what makes it more personal. And he has actually descriptions and breaks it down and analyzes it quite cleverly to where, what are you going to do and how many people? Now, here's the last scenario. Suppose that you saw a child drowning in icy water out in a pond, and you knew that it was only 5 feet deep, and you were a 6-foot person, and you could walk out there, but you just bought these new trousers, and they cost you $140. And if you were going to go out there to save that child, you were going to
lose your trousers.
You're going to lose your trousers, basically ruin your trousers, right?
Yeah.
On a percentage basis, how many do you think went out to save the child?
Oh, I would think 100%.
100% to save the child? Actually, it was 96 to 97%.
Okay.
So I don't know what those 3% of people were talking,
Makes you
but they
wonder.
definitely weren't atheists. Again, if you read the book, it dives into morals and finds out specifically what, first, if you have to define the morals, and then you have to define the moral foundations, and that's where I'm going next. You have a great explanation, which I heard earlier, about moral foundations, which is different than how do we learn our morals. What is a moral foundation?
All right. Atheists value knowledge, the understanding of the world as the basis for their morality. To function well in the world, you have to understand the world, and you have to struggle to learn as best you can. Once you do that, so knowledge and wisdom is a foundational value for atheism. And once you do that, you have the moral obligation to live the knowledge that you have. It's an integrity thing to live what you know and to express it and live it as it is.
But many Christians say that we don't have morality, we don't have any morals because we don't have any supernatural deity, we don't have a divine absolute truth. Is there absolute morality in the world?
Oh gosh, well, I think that's, I don't know if I have an absolute answer for that. When I hear that question, because it is a big deal with a lot of Christian groups, that we have absolute truth and atheists are relativists, and so the morality is false and doesn't believe in it. Well, I think to really have absolute truth, you have to have absolute and complete knowledge. And we're finite beings. There's no way we can know. We can only know that piece of the truth that we apply ourselves to understand and know, the knowledge that we value so much. So do we have absolute truth? No, we have to be open to new experiences, new information all the time, and be prepared to modify our conclusions based on that. But that's part of our morality.
Well, the morality is not absolute, is what you're saying.
Right.
It's based on our knowledge base. And that seems to make sense because as we're kids, of course, we steal, not knowing that it's, well, even knowing that it's wrong, we still steal. We make the decision for it. Very few people have not stolen. My wife is one of them, actually. She's never stolen anything in her life. She can't remember it, at least. So kudos to my wonderful wife, Lynn. The knowledge base that you're talking about is one's own experiences. So can you relate experiences to morality, meaning the more experiences that you have, the more moral person you might be?
I wouldn't make it a direct connection like that. You need the knowledge base to derive moral conclusions from it. Someone who doesn't have any idea about global warming or trash collection, piling up, doesn't have a moral conclusion to make from throwing away a Pepsi bottle, that is. But someone who has learned a bit about the world, about the limited resources we have out there, about the oil consumption we have and the post-petroleum society, is placing themselves now with the information they need to decide, is there a moral decision to make with throwing away this plastic bottle?
And that's more of a social morality, meaning encompassing many, many people, not an individual morality, meaning am I going to hit this person if he makes me angry, or of course that also interferes with the emotional side of things, but am I going to do certain things right? If I see a $100 bill on the ground that I see somebody drop, am I going to return that? These are simple questions that will determine your own morality. And occasionally, I have to admit, in my life, I have had experiences where I had choices to make, immediate choices, spontaneous choices that I had to make within 5 or 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And I did make the wrong choice. But I don't have any
That doesn't
guilt.
mean you're moral, though.
It doesn't mean I'm immoral. It means that I made a wrong decision for that. If I know going into it that it's the wrong decision, and I still do the wrong decision, then I just have to live with it. I don't have to go to confession, and I admit I did some things.
Well, that's the foundation for a philosophy called existentialism.
Tell me about existentialism.
That came out of the early 20th century from the French atheist thinkers over there. And it's a foundation for a lot of atheist philosophy and morality these days. One of the things that Christians like to say is that their morality comes because they have a chance for eternal life. That people like you and me who are atheists, who we are only expecting to live 80, 90 years and then it's over, well, there's no purpose to life, so why do we bother with ethics? Why don't we just be hedonists and do anything we can for those 90? Nihilistic, yes. But in fact, the philosophy of existentialism says, no, it's because we have a finite life that makes every moment that we spend precious and important.